tarde. Yes. So, antes de mais, gostaria de agradecer a vosso convite para este Air Summit Portugal, que certamente será ótimo contributo para o relançamento desta indústria. And that's where my Portuguese stops. You will have to excuse me, but I wanted to have at least a word in Portuguese for the guests in Portugal. I'm learning it. I will get there eventually. Another little note is I'm here, of course, representing EJME as I'm accountable to run EJME, which is basically a sister company of Netjet. Our company, EJME, is concentrating on aircraft management. That would be nicer. Thank you. So our company is concentrating on aircraft management, and Netjet, of course, is mainly the core business is fractional ownership. So if we turn the clock back 18 months ago, I don't think anyone could have predicted what happened. The world changed radically, I believe, over this period of time. However hard the pandemic affected many individuals for the worse, I find it fascinating to see how quick we were able to adapt ourselves. Moving 1,000 employees to work from home just in a month and keeping the same operational results could not have been possible, or at least not thought of before, in such a short time span. Yes, the world has changed, and it certainly has its share of challenges, but we can only grab this opportunity to make it better. So yes, 2020, like I mentioned, it's a complete drawback for the industry, whether it is business aviation or commercial aviation, but in different ways. Business aviation in April 2020, when you look at it, we had a reduction of 71% of our decline of our traffic, where commercial aviation was down 89%. But a couple of months later, when in August, when things started to pick up again, we're back to 2019 numbers, so in August 2020, where the airlines were still actually 55% behind. Of course, when the second wave of COVID came in, everything stopped again and we went back down to the same kind of numbers as before, which is Q4 2020, Q1 2021. So quite challenging. A lot of operating models had to be reviewed and adapted to the new operating rules to respect all safety measures to fly passenger on, putting the same big strain, on the workforce. So, without going into the details of the past years, where does it lead us now? There were interesting discussions just before about where the market stands and how it has to recover. Well, in Q3 of 2021, which is now, we've seen unprecedented demand for private travel. And for the last 2 months, business aviation is pacing at 25% ahead of 2019. With commercial airlines, I would say still substantially down. So a very different pattern for business aviation. In Europe specifically, we have been experiencing daily flights volume which are higher than pre-pandemic. There's been an incredible influx of owners who are new to private aviation. What we notice is that a large group of new owners might have considered flying private in the past and are now inclined to do so for ease, safety, comfort, and peace of mind. The pandemic has acted as a deciding factor to frequent flyers who formerly sat on the fence of flying privately. More interesting, actually, is before the pandemic, the split between leisure and business was 80-20. So we had 60% was for leisure, 40% was for business. And currently, actually, the leisure is at 80% and the business is at 20%. So there is a shift there. So personal and leisure travel certainly led to the recovery, but we are now seeing at the peak once the peak summer season ended, that there is a return to business travel, though. Businesses want to return to their travel needs, as they see private aviation as an effective business tool, providing travel autonomy and giving back precious time to those with busy schedules. The next interesting step we can see is we start to have a phenomena which we would call bleisure, business and leisure. Yeah? There's less segregation between both. We believe that flexible and remote working trends have blurred the line between business and leisure travel, attributing to the ongoing demand for private travel well past the summer peak season. So what's happening is when people normally would leave for leisure on a Friday night, come back Sunday, we're seeing that they leave arbitrarily during the course of the week, work remote, take advantage of being at the place for leisure during the weekend and come back. A very different trend. So this, interesting enough, is that the demand now is completely different. We had our peak Friday or Sunday night, shifted now, which is completely random over the week. So it is within this new market that we need to look at the future and what it could represent. One obvious conclusion, growth. I know it's not the same for the whole industry, but definitely for us it's the case. Yeah, we're bringing 9 new airplanes this year, and we expect to reach 113 airplanes by the end of 2022 here in Portugal. Yeah, and we project the demand to stay as such. So just to give you in perspective, the addition of those capabilities for the group-wise Netjets will give us 760 aircraft globally. And within this growth, we need to take multiple factors into consideration. And I would like to resume that to 4 main key points: safety, sustainability, accessibility, and efficiency. So safety, it's number 1. It's a priority, we need to have that. It's safety around the operation, safety with the new problems of COVID. And we need to embrace the speed at which new developments are being introduced. It's moving fast, and we need to make sure we make full use of those benefits. Not easy when we see how technology is moving at a very fast pace. For that, we believe the industry, we have to be the safest out there, but we need to work hand in hand with the regulator, with the aircraft manufacturers, ATM services, software developers, to really further improve the product or have them approved as they highly enhance the safety. So safety is really an important factor. The second one, which we hear everywhere, is sustainability. We can and we must contribute to it. At present, the private aviation sector contributes to 0.04% of global emissions, which means as a sector we must recognize that the environmental implementation of such growth, which we have, we need to mitigate our impact on the world we live in. There's still much work to be done to eliminate carbon emission caused by aviation. But things are moving in the right direction. And it's not about one initiative, it's about multiple combined that will have a long-term impact. A couple of which we can name from what we're trying to move in the industry. Carbon offset. It's an obvious one, but we started in 2008, and 2012 we were completely carbon neutral. It's a given, it's there, we need to continue, but there's more to it. Carbon offset is just one part of the solution. Innovation. Yeah? So we need to use the technology which is existing on the planes, whether it is the wings, the avionics, newer engines, in order to mitigate and be more sustainable, which goes into the fleet renewal. Yeah? We mentioned we're buying 18 new planes coming up. So out of 100, we need to get our planes a very young age. The average age of our fleet is 7.1 years. And that makes a big difference versus older airplanes who have a completely different fuel consumption. Waste fuel, we hear about it, definitely, and we made a significant investment in waste fuel. next generation waste to fuel business that uses proven technology to convert municipal waste into SAF. So we are extremely proud to say that we are the first private aviation company to buy a stake in the production of SAF and have committed to purchasing minimum of 100 million of gallons of waste fuel over the next 10 years. If we consider that it brings a reduction in greenhouse gas of its life cycle of 80% from using sustainable aviation fuel compared to traditional fossil fuels. I think early in the conference, though, it's important to mention that Raphael Schwarzman from IATA mentioned very clear, we need to work together to make it more accessible. It's access to those fuel, it's access to those products that we need to work on to make sure it's available. We understand we must take a responsibility for our footprint by taking initiative, robust and proactive approaches to ensure we grow in the ways to have the lowest environmental impact. For this reason, we're always investigating new opportunities and technologies to help to make our operations more environmental friendly. Next is accessibility. We need to have access to airports. We're growing, and the business aviation model on demand, we have on demand little notice based on the concept of anytime, anywhere. While last year it's been easy to maintain airport access at the chosen times, the overall increase of traffic will certainly not make things easier. Access to the entire network of airports is partially what makes business aviation thrive. Very important to us. It brings customers as close as possible to the intended destination, purpose of it. Being diverted or refused access to airports for capacity reasons directly impacts our customers, but potentially indirectly increases flight duty time, hence cost and fuel burn. So we go back, everything is interlinked in sustainability. We need to be smarter to keep those airport access. For that, we strongly support EBBA, so the European Business Association, Aviation Association, call for a fair and equitable solution, recognizing historical rights for all airspace users, with an understanding that each model is an essential component of Europe's air transport policy. The last point which I mentioned is efficiency. So business aviation, unlike many other forms of aviation, can fly to all types of airfields and flight levels. Our aircraft are able to operate at low altitude, high altitudes, but fast up to Mach 0.09. However, the way the European airspace is being controlled is, we believe, outdated and could be more efficient for air travel. Here as well, we support EBBA, and it was mentioned as well previously, the Single European Sky, the CES advocacy for CNS ATM paradigm shift to be well synchronized amongst ATM stakeholders based on a positive cost and benefit analysis for aviation operators. The objective are to better use scarce airspace to reduce the fragmentation of European airspace and optimize the flight trajectory without being constrained by airspace configuration or national boundaries. We can speak about direct routing, continuous descent, will avoid inefficiencies, and again, has a direct impact on sustainability. When we speak about efficiency, there is, of course, the operations, but there's also cost. It's run a business. We've been speaking earlier about taxation. We understand there should be a certain contribution, but as Thierry Lagonier mentioned today as well, as long as the resources remain in the sector, we will invest in new technology, but we need support in those investments. And we'd expect any such taxation would be returned back into the industry. So in conclusion, there are a lot of opportunities here for a strong, positive future, but we must keep a balanced approach integrating safety, sustainability, accessibility, and efficiency in coordination with all the stakeholders to make this a long-term sustainable growth. Thank you.